Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, joined by Adam Nicholas from WhatCulture. AEW's Full Gear pay-per-view has just finished and we are here to tell you what went down. A lot of hype for this pay-per-view, Adam Nicholas, but I thought he lived up to it. What do you think?
I think it did. I think compared to the last pay-per-view where the expectations were very high and the delivery left a lot to be desired, I think a lot of people felt about that last pay-per-view. This felt like a return to form for AEW.
For a near, 4-hour pay-per-view, it certainly didn't feel 4 hours. And I mean, you look at the timings, especially for that Young Bucks FTR match, nearly half an hour. That just flew by. Unquestionable match of the night for me. But we'll get to your thoughts on that in due course. Let's do it in order. Let's start actually on the buy-in where we had a title defense, of course, the NWA Women's World Championship being defended by Serena Deeb against Allysin Kay. Serena Deeb retaining there after a Serenity lock for a submission victory. And I suppose the bigger headline, congratulations to Serena Deeb and Allysin Kay. You had a good match, a match you would probably see, well, actually you wouldn't see on Dynamite because it took them 2 minutes half the time. But anyway, a match you'd expect to see on TV with a bit more flair due to it being on the buy-in. But I suppose the big takeaway here is the return of Thunder Rosa, who quite clearly hasn't signed for WWE.
Yes, despite reports, maybe even from WhatCulture Wrestling, Thunder Rosa has signed, it would seem, or if she hasn't, it's a very weird move this, but it would seem she's signed with AEW. She turned up at the end of the match to challenge, or certainly get in the face of Serena Deeb. Those two, of course, have previous, because of course Deeb took the title from Thunder Rosa. The whole thing is very exciting. Thunder Rosa is like hot property in terms of what company she should go for. I think WWE would love to have her. AEW seem to have stolen one from under their nose. Great signing. And women's wrestling division that is desperately in need of some stars and some star power and some time and attention. This is very exciting indeed.
Yeah, on a day that we reported earlier on, of course, of AEW wanting to set up some sort of, or being open at least to setting up some sort of working relationship with New Japan. Great to see the NWA side of things really just being showcased here. We start the main card with a match that kind of surprised us in terms of where it was placed on the card. It did make sense sort of overall when you look at it, but Hangman Page, Kenny Omega, follow that, lads, to start the show.
I mean, if you are opening a show and like the first match is Kenny Omega versus Hangman Page and you know that you're on next, you're probably feeling a little bit self-conscious to say the least. But I think these two, I think what we could call this is a fantastic match. They really did come out fast and furious, as you would imagine from the pair of them, but perhaps a little bit shorter maybe, Mr. Wilborn, than we were expecting.
Yeah, I think they told a great story in this, and I think it was a real example of the loser kind of getting over in defeat. I thought Hangman Page looked sensational here. I mean, really? Kenny Omega is Kenny Omega. What do you expect? He is showcasing and sort of, believing his own hype as well as a result of this, showcasing his sensational skills in between the ropes. A power bomb on the ramp during this. Jesus. And the finish I thought was great because there was a split second. I saw our very own Michael Sidrick actually tweeting about this, where Page went for the buckshot lariat and you thought, oh my God, he's going to hit it. And then ducks at the last second, fires off a series of V-triggers. He hit a few earlier on in the night. And I really like the struggle of trying to get Page down for the one-winged angel to try and hook the head. The final slam of the one-winged angel. Omega eventually doing it though. 1, 2, 3. He is the winner of that elimination tournament. He is effectively the number one contender for the world title. And I mean, Hangman Page's face kind of told the whole story after that, as Omega just went, well, good match, mate. Bye.
Yeah, it was very much like, cheers. There wasn't any time for standing there and lifting them up and saying, yeah, we're still buddies kind of thing. None of that. Off Skizzy went because he's got bigger fish to fry, Wilborn, let's be honest. And on top of that, you're completely right here. Although Page obviously didn't get the win, and as many people on our live stream said, it was Page with the heart, but with the head, we were being told it was probably going to be Kenny Omega. And the right decision made overall after what was a bit of a firecracker, let's be honest. It might have been short, but it was definitely sweet.
Perfect opener, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Really set the tone quite nicely and I don't think set the bar way too high for anybody either, which was nice. Obviously, it did set a bar, but not one that wouldn't be topped throughout the night, I think.
And was almost topped immediately by one that I'm going to let you talk about. John Silver versus Orange Cassidy was a match that had been promoted from the buy-in, and this just told us why, because these two created the perfect sort of comedy match, but also showcasing the fact they're really good wrestlers as well.
Two very good wrestlers who have produced a match that really showcased John Silver, like, incredibly well. So, and I would actually say, let me just do a quick mental check. Yep, I think it is. I think it's my favourite spot in a match this year in 2020. I'll go as far as say that much. I genuinely think it fits. And I know a lot of people go, I need wrestling to be serious and all this kind of thing, and they don't like comedy in their wrestling. This was a perfect example of how to do both. And what do we know about Orange Cassidy? He does the slow kicks, he does all that. But where does he draw all his power from? Them hands going into his pockets. Incredible spot here where John Silver is absolutely fed up of Orange Cassidy's bullshit and decides he's just going to knock him down and rip the pockets off his jeans so he can't put his hands in his pockets. That sentence in itself shouldn't make any sense, and yet everybody knows that that was a huge spot, because what do we do now? Because Orange Cassidy, a man who has made us believe in this hands in the pockets gimmick, now doesn't have any pockets to put his hand. It sounds stupid, but it was amazing. And then he followed that up, Wilborn, with an absolute show of pure strength and class across the board. Silver looked amazing in this match. At one point, was doing a one-arm press with Cassidy on his arm. Brilliant, this. Absolutely brilliant. Really, really impressed me, both these guys. As you said, sure they could wrestle as well as do the comedy spots too.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you had John Silver shouting, "It doesn't hurt," when Cassidy's doing the slow kicks, and just getting more and more furious. And then, like you say, just manhandling all over the place. In the end, though, his dedication to his cause slightly got the better of him. He went for Brody Lee's discus clothesline. Nope.
Yes.
Orange punch, beach break. 1, 2, 3. Great match. And the sort of perfect match to counterbalance Page and Omega and how serious that was.
And it was the perfect tone changer as well. Just brought it back down to a level that we wanted to be at, I think, for the next match, certainly. And big shout out as well to Silver. He did like what we were calling on the stream is like a minus F10, because he had Cassidy on his shoulders, but facing, so Cassidy was facing upwards and spun him out that way. It was brilliant. Absolutely amazing. Genuinely, John Silver, thoroughly impressed by him. And of course, Orange Cassidy, as always.
Next up, it was the TNT Championship match, and big things happened here. Most importantly of all, of course, the return of the greatest referee in professional wrestling, Mike Chioda, of course. We did the chant on the live stream. No time for it now. Got a lot of matches to get into. But yes, Darby Allin is your new TNT champion. Because Cody took him too lightly, basically. The story of the match, really. Darby Allin quite early on seemed to really have Cody's number, and Cody appeared to have gone into it thinking, well, I've beaten him twice before, I think, and I've put on a stone extra weight, and look at him. And no, it wasn't enough. He got out wrestled by the freak who comes in on the skateboard and has half his face painted. I said freak, and that's now made me think of Lars Sullivan. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, I did.
Anyway, but yeah, he turns up with a paint and he smashes the windscreen. What's he doing? Anyway, I'll tell you what he's doing. He's kicking out of bloody everything, including a super crossroads off the top rope. We'll talk about what happened towards the end of this match and post-match as well in a second. But this is solidified Darby Allin as the new face of TNT. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, I feel like it would be unfair for me not to mention, as I always do, and we always need to do with NXT wrestlers. Of course, there is always going to be a little bit of a cloud over Darby Allin in terms of he was named as one of the names in the speaking out allegations. And we have, I think the bigger picture here for me was whether that is the right move or not in terms of where his position is. I think the important thing for me was Cody to let go of the championship. I think that felt important. It felt like I needed to change. It opens the door for other people and some new matches, and maybe puts Cody in a different light. If he has built up, indeed, could we be seeing him head elsewhere? But these two, there's enough story between them already just in their history in AEW to make this one great. They played off that well. Obviously, we've got the draw. We've had 2 wins for Cody. It was time. It was time for Darby Allin to get the win. But I have to say, Wilbs, I absolutely loved this finish, because how many times we see this thing, which I'll let you go over, happen and it never really comes to anything. And this finally seems like it made a payoff.
Mad stuff that happened in this match. Darby Allin getting chucked onto the ramp from Cody. Allin hitting a coffin drop and Cody just kicking out of it, rather than, as we've seen in the past, him getting his knees up, him reversing the pinfall. No, in the end, yes, it was a series of traded cradles.
Traded cradle, there you go.
Between the two men, and in the end, Cody just couldn't kick out of the last one or reverse it or anything, and the look on his face was a picture. It really told the whole story of, he looked at Darby and then he looked almost at Arn Anderson to think, oh, bloody hell, I've let everyone down, because he had that huge entourage, that insane entrance. But to be fair, he grabs the title belt off the greatest referee in the world, Mike Chioda, and he hands it to Darby Allin, who celebrates, and they sort of the coronation happens of this new TNT champion. For anyone who just said, oh, well, he buried Brody Lee and took the title back. No, this is obviously clearly the plan for quite some time. And then you have Team Taz coming out. Brian Cage, Ricky Starks, accompanying Team Taz as he yells at Darby. I say accompanying him, apologies, jumping Darby Allin and Cody Rhodes. Yeah. Team Taz has them distracted, laying them both out, eventually chucking Darby Allin through this weird full gear display that we thought was going to shatter, and then just made it out of paper, and then very nearly breaking Darby Allin's arm in the door of his own car that he brought to the ring before being chased off by Will Hobbs. An intriguing development, I suppose, post-match here. Yeah,
fascinating development to see that. Already moving into the territory that we're going to get with a new champion, which I think is important. Obviously, the men who were going to make their moves have made their moves. They were, of course, scared off in the end by the presence of Hobbs, who turned up to save the day. But I think the other thing that I just want to quickly mention and note there, when Cody did, of course, give Darby Allin the title, he notably dropped to one knee. Of course, the whole time Cody had said that Darby Allin had indeed bent the knee to him twice before, obviously losing, in which case it was almost like a passing of this throne thing that we got, which obviously Cody does like a good throne. We all know that. And I just thought there were some lovely touches in there too.
Yeah, next up, a match with an awful build, if I'm perfectly honest. And it's sort of divisive match, I think, as a result of that. I think, the match itself was eventful, but also I know a lot of people who couldn't really invest in it because they were like, well, I've seen this match before, and I've been told about this match like 2 weeks ago on Dynamite, when they just went, do you want a title match? It was Hikaru Shida versus Nyla Rose for the AEW Women's World Title. And they did a lot of great stuff in here, really memorable spots. But it was also, like I say, a bit divisive in terms of the fact of it also got a bit sloppy towards the end, and it was Hikaru Shida hitting a load of knees to eventually KO Nyla Rose, having sold her knee the whole match.
A really weird way to go with this, and not the first time we're going to see this tonight. We'll get to that more in just a second, but it just felt a bit jumbled. Like, it was weird. You've got it spot on there. They did some great spots in the match. They did some great sequences together in the match, and bits that I didn't see coming and I thought were good, but it just felt like they weren't put together in the right order. The match felt jumbled. The ordering of it felt jumbled. The timing of it felt weird, and the fact that literally for the whole match, Shida had like a leg hit from a kendo stick by Vicky Guerrero on the slide. She'd had her leg Boston crabbed and like punched by Nyla Rose throughout this match. Loads of stuff happened to that knee. And then the majority of our attacks came from that specific side, whether it was a flying drop kick off a turnbuckle or whatever. Loads of stuff from that specific knee. And then about 5 knees to the face, pretty much back of the head, front of the head, the face, you name it, she did it. And won the match that way, and then decided to sell the knee. I don't know, it just felt clunky, it felt confused, it felt like there was some good stuff, but it didn't all fit together.
You've hit the nail on the head there. Confusing is the best part of this, because there were some spots that were, like you say, were great to see, like Nyla Rose pulled the champion up after hitting this powerbomb because she wanted to hit her with Hikaru Shida's own knee, which she did, sat down on it, and then Hikaru Shida fired up and kicked out at one. And then Hikaru Shida sort of does a callback to that again by pulling Nyla Rose up and going for another knee. She gets tripped by Vicky Guerrero, who at one point was going to just hit the champion right in front of the referee with a kendo stick. And you think, well, that's going to...
Why would you do that?
Of your client, or whatever you want to, your vixen, whatever you want to call them, is challenging for the title, which was kind of weird. So there was that. Then there's the spot with the Nyla Rose runs over Vicky Guerrero accidentally, and then of course, like you say, that the knees win the match despite the fact it's the knees buggered for she. And then it was such a confusing ending. Vicky Guerrero bollocks Nyla Rose. Nyla Rose squares up to her, gets slapped, and then Vicky Guerrero just leaves. Weird.
Just odd choices all around. I don't think anybody left this feeling like better or worse. I think the end felt emblematic of the start, which clearly there wasn't a great deal there to begin with. So,
and strange that they would decide to do that sort of like the injury, fighting through the injury to then win the match via the injury almost. When you're following that with the Young Bucks versus FTR, which is the story we've been taught the whole way along. It's been a bit iffy with the whole Young Bucks being heel and stuff, but towards the end, all we've known is Matt's injured. Kayfabe or in real life, Matt's injured. He's carrying an injury. And what do? They love a bloody super kick. So that's how is that going to work out? Like I said at the beginning, nearly half an hour this match, but it flew by. An unquestionable match of the night. Maybe not match of the year. We still talking about comparing this with the Revolution tag match, for example, which was just jaw-dropping. And I don't know whether it's because we had lower expectations for that one. Very high expectations for this match, despite the iffy build. And it lived up to it for me. Did it for you, Adam Nicholas?
It was a great match, a really good match. I think both sets of teams will think they've got more in the tank. That's not to say they didn't put on a great match. It really was a great match. But I can almost guarantee you that the pair of them will be thinking, we can top that. We can definitely do one better than that. At least one better, maybe, if not two. Again, I think you're right. AEW Revolution tag match still stands out for me as the standard bearer. But I think it was just, this match has been a long time coming. And it was great to see them in there. And I tell you what, the chemistry between these four is good, man. It's red hot. It is absolutely red hot. And Dax and Cash, man, just look like two guys who they've been doing it already, but this feels like them back to their fluid, absolute top tier best. The kind of used to get in NXT when they would honestly just matches they do would just be seamless. Every spot would work. They'd flow into this bit. They'd flow into that bit. The amount of callbacks we got in this match too. Shared histories of tag teams from the past, the combinations of the world's greatest tag teams, past or present, who they've stolen moves from to kind of pay homage, but also to say, we are the standard bearers. These are the moves we're putting in this match. This was top stuff. And Matt's knee, obviously, being ankle or knee, whichever one we really want to go with, being obviously the key target in this. It gave us the through line, didn't it, throughout the whole match?
Yeah, absolutely. The hot tag to Nick was red hot because of that. It was... You talk about cutting the ring in half. I mean, they cut the team in half in this match. And like you say, just destroyed Matt from the moment I think he went for a moonsault and just landed on his feet because they'd moved. And you just saw him tweak the knee or the ankle or whatever you want to do. And they just battered him in this match. Like you say, callbacks to previous tag teams, callbacks to previous tag team matches they're involved in, and with the likes of DIY, for example. Really enjoyable. We also had Dax. I don't know what he did to his hand, but he punched the ring post. That looked rough. That looked rough going throughout this match. But yeah, nothing compared to what Matt went through, especially towards the end. He got his boot and his sock taken off. They stomped on it. They destroyed it. They had inverted figure fours. It was horrible to see.
That was just on the sock?
Yes. Cass Wheeler was, earlier on in the match, was flying all over the place. He's 0 to 60 must be ridiculous for someone like him, because he was just straight across the ring if there was any sort of defense being offered by the likes of Nick Jackson. But in the end, it was Cash who kind of cost himself the whole match. He decided to really rub it in the face of the Young Bucks and finish them off with their own moves. So he hits a super kick Down goes Matt Jackson. He's already hit a super kick as well, by the way, on Nick Jackson to take him out of the match. And then he decides to do a 450. And Adam Nicholas, you kind of summed it up perfectly, didn't you?
Yeah, you see, he went for that decided to go for a springboard 450 splash off the sides of the ropes. And, well, two things, yeah. One, Cash can execute a absolutely stunning picture perfect 450 off those ropes. Brilliant stuff. However, come on, man. We know this. What is the whole gimmick? This is brilliant, this. The whole gimmick is, I guess it used to be, technically, no flips, just fist. And come on, Cash, man, you know the drill. You know the drill at this point. You've only got yourself to blame. He goes for the spectacular, of course, fails miserably, and then Matt ends up managing to get the victory for the YouTubes there, for the Young Bucks, because, listen, man, it's about 5 o'clock, 5:30, yeah. Give me a break. And the fact that one decision from Cash, after a match of excellence, of working a strict style between him and Dax throughout the whole match, that's what cost them. Despite the fact that Matt's entire leg is completely gone to bits, still manages to get them the win, which I just thought, I mean, it's hard to take for FTR, and you maybe don't want to see them lose the belt so quickly. And where do we go with the Young Bucks? Because obviously, if Matt is indeed injured, but a finish I think we both appreciated quite a lot.
Yeah, they kicked the leg out of his leg.
That's what I was thinking of before.
The whole match. And he still managed to hit a super kick despite the injury, clutching his leg as he pinned Cash, as we mentioned there. And also, post-match, the look from FTR sitting at the top of the ramp to the Young Bucks suggests, like you say, this isn't over. They're going to have some more spectacular matches together. Down comes Kenny Omega to celebrate. And the visual of those three celebrating, Matt being held aloft or being supported by his brother and he's one of his best mates. And there's Hangman Page just looking on in the tunnel if you're eagle-eyed enough to spot him. Poor bastard.
Never came out the tunnel, but he still had a good drink in his hand. Did he leave with FTR though?
Oh, I need to know.
I guess you'll have to tune in to Dynamite to find out.
Let's move on to the Elite Deletion, which was the perfect sort of palate cleanser again here after such a hugely important match. You knew from the moment Sammy Guevara showed up in a golf cart and Matt Hardy ran it over in a monster truck that we were in for a bit of a bonkers match. I say match. It's a cinematic match. We're really not going to do it justice trying to describe it here, or we'll probably miss out half this. They brawled through a forest. They found his ring. They shot fireworks at each other. Santana and Ortiz showed up. Private Party showed up to even the numbers. Then Gangrel showed up and got the Hurricane. Call back to like 2 years ago, the haunted house thing, the Halloween thing, sorry, that Hardy did. Great to see Gangrel. Obviously great to see the Hurricane. The Hurricane who got hoyed in the Lake of Reincarnation by Sammy Guevara and came back as the reporter version of the Hurricane, and then just the Hurricane again. That's all going on. They brawl everywhere. It's just bonkers. It's everything that you come to expect from a Matt Hardy cinematic match. And then in the end, they brawl into the Dome of Deletion, I believe it's called.
Yeah.
Sammy Guevara is touching the ceiling, hits Matt Hardy with a swanton bomb for a table, but that's not the end. They continue to brawl, and Matt Hardy, I think, spears Sammy Guevara off the edge of the ring through some tables for Sammy Guevara to bust his head open on the floor. Now we assume, because of the way that it was shot, that's not actually what happened, and it was just a callback. I didn't really appreciate a callback to that horrible spot we remembered, but it obviously played into the match because the conclusion of this match was Matt Hardy murdering Sammy Guevara, Adam Nicholas.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. Yeah, you're right about the callbacks. I think it was their way of trying to tie some art into something that had previously maybe felt slightly artless in terms of Sammy inadvertently busting Matt open with a chair and Matt inadvertently knocking himself out on actual concrete. Sammy's back of his head was split. Matt actually did a spot where he like rammed a chair into the front of Sammy's head, which was a brilliant sell from both. The whole thing, just I guess the karmic revenge, I guess that the storyline demands Guevara gets. But again, do we need it? I don't know. I guess that's up to the viewers who wanted to watch that and whether that was the thing. I don't think it in any way felt like it blunted the sharpness of this match and how good it was in terms of Matt Hardy knows how to deliver a cinematic match, and he gave us another memorable thing and the important, again, palate cleanser that we needed compared to the match that had come prior.
Senor Benjamin driving off the corpse of Sammy Guevara in a wheelie bin.
Who had been put in a wheelie bin, let's not forget, yes.
Nice to have this conclusion to this, because I think the other match has sort of left such a bad taste in the mouth. Just have a bit of fun here. And Gangrel, of course, and the Hurricane was really enjoyable. And all members of the Hardy clan, of course, his other half was playing piano as that whole thing finished. Next up, it was MJF versus Chris Jericho for a spot in the Inner Circle, a spot that presumably opened up because Sammy Guevara's dead now. MJF needs a mention for just his entrance alone, coming out with a light up Jericho-esque jacket to piss off just everyone. He was hated. Everyone's singing along to Jericho's theme. They're kind of both heels, but okay. I get why that happens. And MJF was not happy. They just started off really quickly. Instead of the old handshake, they just started hitting each other, basically. And it was sort of, I describe this as the battle of the houses, because that's all they seem to do to each other.
It was just them, it's everything we've seen from these two from the very beginning. It was just an entire match build of one-upsmanships, and these ones were one-upsmanships on who is the wilier, more cunning fox, I think it was, throughout this match. Who is the one who will stoop to a law the other will not stoop to, and who is eventually going to be the smarter of the two and quicker on the draw when it comes to getting that one over on the other one. It was just really well told, this. The young lion, the old elder statesman, the two of them just clashing, but they are the same but different. You know what I mean? Like that, they really hammered this home throughout, and everything we've seen from these two pointed to this being a good match, and this, I think it's fair to say, it delivered, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Frankenstein off the top rope from Chris Jericho during this, we should mention.
Yeah, man.
But yeah, in the end, Wardlow takes the referee after handing MJF the beautiful diamond ring. He goes to twat Jericho with it. Jericho ducks underneath, gets Hager to hoy him a bat. MJF gives him the old middle fingers. Eddie Guerrero sells like he's just been KO'd by the bat, whilst Jericho is protesting his innocence to referee Aubrey Edwards. What does MJF do? Grab him, roll him up, grab the tights. 1, 2, 3. MJF and Wardlow, according to the announcement made by Chris Jericho, new members of the Inner Circle. Jake Hager didn't look best pleased.
No, the two brothers, if you like. You got Jericho and you got MJF, and then you had Jake Hager and you had Wardlow. Just almost like mirror images following each other, like wary of one another, keeping that distance, and not because they were trying to be socially polite either. They don't like each other. The dynamic already looks very interesting indeed, and I love that finish as well. Such a variation on a theme, because what I've seen a million times, like he drops down, you think that's going to be the end. He's actually just done about 3 things in there to trick Jericho and second guess him to the point where he can then roll him up, and doesn't just beat him by cheating, he beats him by being smarter and quicker and faster on the draw. MJF one-ups Chris Jericho, the biggest one-up of their careers. He has a 1-0 win over Jericho, the one thing Jericho does not have over him.
Exactly. Right, main event time for the AEW World title. It was the I Quit match between Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. And this was horrible to watch, but in a good way.
Yes, I guess so. Less horrible when we figure out the props that were involved. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
All right, that's fair to say. Like, anybody who watched Full Gear the last time round, and I only dawned on me while we were watching this one that the last one was where we saw Omega versus Moxley in that brutal match the first time. And when that dawned on me, I felt a little bit uncomfortable, because I was like, this is going to get real bad real quick, because it's Kingston and it's Moxley, two guys who have a history with this sort of thing. And they weren't shy on trying to take it out on one another, were they?
No, exactly. There was a barbed wire bat introduced quite early on. Eddie Kingston just threw chairs directly at Jon Moxley's
He's
head.
a very good chair thrower.
He is indeed. Kingston then used a chair to batter Moxley's bat, and then he takes a bit of the barbed wire. I was wincing watching this. Takes a bit of the barbed wire off the bat, wraps it around his fist, and just punches and rubs it into Moxley's head. Ugh, it was a tough watch, that.
It was gimmick barbed wire, though. We've come to the conclusion because nobody was bleeding anywhere near the way they should have been, and no gashes on the back of Moxley's head that hadn't been there prior from not barbed wire stuff. But the one thing you might struggle to fake in the world of wrestling is a bag full of thumbtacks out of Wilborn.
And we were placing bets on who we thought was going to go into it. We thought it was the old, if you set it up, you're going to have to take going through it. Nope. Kingston launched Moxley back first into the thumbtacks. And it just looked horrible. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, in order to try and encourage his opponents to say I quit, just kept kicking him in the dick. Just kept stamping on his cock and going,
which will do it.
Do you want to say I quit yet? And Moxley said, I don't really fancy saying I quit, to be honest, mate. And he goes, I'll tell you what we got you for that. Some nice rubbing alcohol all over your back that's just been punctured by these thumbtacks. Oh, God. You can do your big set pieces. You can do your big, I'm going to chuck you through 4 tables or off a stage or whatever. Little things like that matter to me far more.
I think, it's a bad match. Or not a bad match like that. I mean, a tough one to watch. When your wife, Renee, was tweeting, "Can I quit this match?" Which probably sums up every time she sees John and Full Gear in the same sentence. She's probably thinking, this is not going to end well, and I'm going to be the one who's going to be looking after him. And sure enough, Eddie Kingston turned him into a watering can with all those thumbtacks.
Oh, God. It was just horrible. In the end, though, Moxley did emerge victorious. He had the Bulldog choke, and then he hit a paradigm shift. And then he reapplied the Bulldog choke with his arm wrapped in barbed wire. And I've said this quite a few times, I've realised, but the look on Kingston's face, he was close to tears, and he just sort of had to grimly accept it. Yeah. He battled and battled and battled. Bryce Remsburg, who's got a relationship, as you alluded to in our live stream, with these two men, is begging him whether or not he wants to quit, and there's blood all around Kingston's mouth, and he realizes he has to disappoint his mother, that mother of his he's promised. Unfortunately, he's not going to be able to carry it through, and he says I quit. Moxley remains AEW World Champion, tries to have a moment with him afterwards, and Kingston just sort of shoos him off. But don't worry, if you want a moment with someone, Mr. Jon Moxley, here's Kenny Omega, who just looks down and goes, that was bloody bonkers. I'm coming to take that title off you. And walks backstage. A lot of teasers of, is someone going to get attacked or whatever? But no, Moxley is standing tall as we go off the air. A great way to end the show.
Great way to end the show. And I think a lot of people who might have been expecting something bigger maybe for the finish, I don't think it needed to be. I think it was just the right amount. I think AEW are fantastic at this. They know when to pull the trigger on a bunch of things simultaneously. And they also know when to just hold off because there's no rush. We've got a lot of things we can do on TV. Love to see Kenny turning up just to give you that tension. But ultimately, we know he's got his chance. He's not here to beat anybody up. He's here to beat him properly. I'm sure we're going to get plenty. The build-up's going to be great. But it didn't need to be tonight. Right now, no. I would say it was kind of Kingston's moment, actually. And obviously, Moxie and him having to go through this emotional ride together. I'm excited to see where it goes, though. And that's always the sign of a good pay-per-view.
Yeah, as we sort of teased when we were previewing this, you kind of have to see Eddie Kingston's more of a babyface figure now after that match, despite everything that happened. And who knows what's going to happen with him and Butcher and the Blade. Of course, we've got a match on Dynamite next week. And, Penta and Rey Fenix were facing each other next week. What's happening with Pac? It's all very intriguing. And we've already just found out that Revolution will go down, I believe, February 27th next year. Fingers crossed things will be a lot different by then. But do let us know your thoughts on everything that happened at Full Gear in the comment section below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And subscribe to What Culture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts from. For daily wrestling podcasts, we'll be talking about this no doubt, for the next few days to come. And myself and Michael Hamplet are going to go into more detail in our review of that, which is available probably right about now as well. Continue the conversation on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and follow both of us. You can follow Adam Nicholas at
It's Adam Nicholas, and you can follow Adam Wilborn at
Adam Wilborn. Any final thoughts on this pay-per-view, Nicholas?
Make it an hour shorter if that was possible. I'm only joking. There's nothing you can do. Or just earlier. Earlier would be great as well. That would also be nice. Here we are. It's 20 to 6 in the morning. But we weren't disappointed. Yeah, swings and roundabouts. Unlike a WWE pay-per-view, there's a 70-30 not in your favour chance you're going to be going to bed really questioning why you watch wrestling, which didn't happen tonight, which is always fun.
Nicholas, the streak continues, mate. Right,
the streak continues.
To Adam Nicholas, thank you for joining us. As I said, let us know your thoughts on Full Gear in the comment section below. And we will see you soon. I'm off to bed. Bye.
Bye.